Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. We are coming to the end of our week and also to the end of Genesis chapter 45. We've been talking about forgiveness this week. Whew, a prevalent, needed topic for all of us. Need the reminder, need the conviction, need to make some changes. And yet we're not just kind of easing out of the chapter this week. We're going to get hit with one more huge conviction, I think. But let's go ahead and read it in verse 26 to the end. This is the brothers having now returned home, and they're about to tell their father Jacob the news. It says in verse 26, Joseph is still alive, they told him, and he is governor of all the land of Egypt. Jacob was stunned at the news. He couldn't believe it. But when they repeated to Jacob everything Joseph had told them, and when he saw the wagons Joseph had sent to carry him, their father's spirits revived. Then Jacob exclaimed, "It must be true. My son Joseph is alive. I must go and see him before I die." This is such a beautiful picture. I don't know if as you're reading the Word of God, if oftentimes imagery comes to your mind, or as you're reading the stories unfolding in front of you, if you picture them happening. But this is one that is easy to picture. This older gentleman, a father who had been aged by years and aged by grief, is now being told that his son, his long-lost son, is alive. You can imagine the apprehension. Could I have hope? Could I believe this? I mean, I'm sure his heart had been so war-torn over the years with the pain of it all. And it had been a traumatic experience the last few months as his sons had gone back and forth with Benjamin and with all these things. It had brought up probably a lot of memories. But here we see that they proved to him through all the stories and all the different evidence of the things coming from Egypt that yes, in fact, Joseph is alive. And you can almost see that glimmer of hope just rekindle in their father's eyes as he goes, "Really? Well, then let's go." What I want to finish out this week and challenge all of us with is how when we harbor unforgiveness in our hearts, it hurts the people around us. Think of Jacob. He was his entire life affected by the animosity, the hatred, the revenge nature of his sons toward his one son, to the point where they sold him into slavery but faked his death to their father. All the pain and anguish that was caused to him by a conflict that had nothing to do with him. It's crazy. I remember as I was a young person and as I began to get older, I noticed that certain uncles didn't talk at family gatherings. You know, when you're little, you don't notice that. But I remember at one point, I don't know if I was a teenager or if I was a young adult, but I remember asking my parents, why doesn't so-and-so talk to so-and-so? And my dad began to share about how a conflict had happened in their teens. These are now men in their 40s, 50s, but some conflict, my dad's like, I honestly don't even remember, but some conflict had happened between a few of his brothers. And from that point on, they brought tension into their home. They couldn't come to the same events always. They didn't go to one another's weddings. They didn't sit at the same table during meals. That tension was there. Some of you know what I'm talking about. And when we are living with unforgiveness, not only does it burden us, but it also affects everybody in the family. You know, some of you dread holidays. You dread getting together for Thanksgiving or Christmas because of the tension that you're going to experience, the fights that may come out. Maybe birthdays are a stressful thing for you because you can only invite to this or you can't invite to that. It's crazy. But when we don't have healthy relationships, it hurts people and affects people that we never intended to hurt. But also, take from this story, when we forgive, when we humble ourselves, when we let go of bitterness, when we let go of hatred and seeking out revenge, when we actually reconcile, what blessing and health that affects those around us. You see, just like Jacob wasn't in the middle of what the brothers did to Joseph, but was affected by it for decades, he now is affected for the good because of the reconciliation that Joseph was able to offer to his brothers. the relationships in your life that you think, oh, it has nothing to do with grandma. It has nothing to do with my siblings. This is between me and my parents. You're fooling yourself. Everyone is affected by your bitterness. Everyone is affected by that tension. Everyone is affected by what you can say to this person or what you can say to that. I've had moments in my own family where one of us was upset with another one. And I've been the sister sometimes where this brother will come and tell me, oh, I'm mad about that mom and dad did. And now I'm in this awkward position. What do I do? We need to forgive. We need to seek health and reconciliation and wholeness. There are some marriages where there's tension, and it's affecting your children. There are some siblings where there's a tension. It's affecting your parents. And then you bring in extended family, and it can get so big. What would forgiveness do for you? But what would forgiveness do for your family as a whole? Can you take the example of God himself, who is willing to forgive you for all of the grievances that we have done as sinners against him? Would you be able to learn from his example? Would you be able to give from the overflow of the forgiveness you've received to offer it to those around you, so that you too can see the ripple effect of how forgiveness blesses the entire family? There's so much that we can learn from Joseph's life, things that were done well and things that were not. But what we can do now is ask ourselves, am I going to apply this truth to my life? Am I going to allow the Word of God to come off the page and actually speak to me, convict me, correct me, encourage me, give me hope, whatever it is, and do something about it? It says not to be just hearers of the Word, but doers of the Word. So I challenge you today to humble yourself and talk to God about that. I also want to invite you to Shrewsbury Assembly tomorrow. We're going to be continuing our series, moving into the chapters to come in this series called Family Dysfunction, on the life of Joseph. And so come on out tomorrow as Pastor Nabil will be continuing that series. Otherwise, we'll see you on Monday for another daily dose for spiritual growth.